Hey, good evening. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. You got to hear me out. If you're looking for a vehicle, now is the time to do it. We have 2 days until the end of February. March brings with it all kinds of uncertainty. The President of the United States is threatening tariffs on Canada beginning early March. If those are instituted, if they're put in place, Ford may rescind its discounts and may even raise its prices on trucks. So as of now, $3,000 cash going your way, another $4,000 in delivery allowance plus my discount. I'm telling you, if you're looking for a lease on an F-150, you got to get at me at Norman Oak Ridge Ford. And I'm bringing all of this up because Oak Ridge Ford is the sponsor of the Leafs Convo. It is February 26th, a Wednesday. Mike in Buffalo, Norm in London, the Maple Leafs on a 3-game run coming out of the Four Nations face-off, Canada winning that thing. Mike, some of your takes on the Four Nations and everything that it meant to you, getting a lot of interaction on the socials, Instagram and TikTok specifically, of course, the YouTube Shorts. Not everybody's agreeing with your take on your thoughts on the Four Nations event. We can get into that in a little bit. But the Leafs 3 wins out of the break and back on top of the division, looking really good. A 5-4 victory in overtime in Boston, punctuating this run. Mitch Marner with a nice little dipsy-do on Mr. Swayman to kind of encapsulate the run and kind of get the Leafs into a place where, hey, you know what? They're looking really good, and now they have some opportunity leading into the March 7th trade deadline, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Norm. Well, the start out of the break is encouraging. The win against Carolina, the win against Chicago, and then the comeback win against the Bruins. Although you go down 3-0. And then you wake up and finally you start playing. And they climb back to 3-3, and then Pasternak, who is the devil when it comes to the Leafs, puts them up 4-3. And they had their top 6-on-5 group out there for about 2 minutes, and they couldn't score. And then with a minute left, with time running out, they put out the second group, and it was Nick Robertson and Pontus Holmberg who tied up the game. And then, as you said, Marner with the great breakaway goal in overtime. They're not playing perfect hockey, but they're playing winning hockey. And the news that came out, former London Knight Matthew Tkachuk with a groin injury, and he could be out a significant period of time. That gives the Leafs a leg up on finishing in the top spot in the Atlantic Division. And if they do that, they force Florida to play Tampa Bay in the first round, and they play one of the wild card teams. So that is good news. We'll talk about Stolarz in a minute because I don't think he won them the game. I think there were some gaps in his game, but he. He made some saves. He made some saves when he needed to, and he made the big save late. But if you think this team is going to go anywhere with Anthony Stolarz as,
why can't he back up Joseph Woll? Just let him have his moment, for God's sakes.
Right, but everybody is treating him like he's Ken Dryden.
Oh, my God. Kenny D, this is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. We are small but mighty. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. Norman London, Mike in Buffalo, you are where you are. I'm seeing a lot of comments come in, a lot of the converts and the soon-to-be OGs. If I've missed what you want me to read, you got to keep posting it because the comments are coming fast and furious, and Mike and I have our agenda. Nick Robertson stood out to me last night, and he stood out to me, at various points of the season, for sure over the last couple of days. And I put out a post on the YouTube channel. So youtube.com/LeafsConvo/community. The question was, on Nick Robertson. Would you still trade Nick Robertson after his, real stellar performance over the last 72 hours? 42 votes, 43% say without a doubt, 43% say it's a soft no. What I like about Nick is that he's in the play, he's driving that line, or he's part of that line, which is, really effective right now. But the fucking guy is like, he's pushing back. Like any questions about any kind of physicality or any kind of engagement that you'd be lacking from a player of his stature are out the window now. This guy is doing more than putting up the offense. He's saying, fuck it, I'm having none of it. If you want to see what I'm really about, take a look, and it's on display. Like, sure, he might be a trade piece, but the more he plays like that, the more I want this guy on my team, Mike.
Well, he's a trade piece because this team in the top 6 has Marner and Nylander.
Right.
On lesser teams, meaning teams that may be battling for a playoff spot, he might be a top 6 forward because he's definitely a scorer. He's definitely got a scoring touch and a good shot. He's fast. He's just not very big. And I think one of the things that is you've seen as a part of the maturation process is, he's not getting pushed around anymore. He's not putting himself in vulnerable positions anymore. But as somebody in the chat said, he's not a great defensive player. I don't think he's ever going to be because he's not very big, and bigger players can push him off the puck, but he's useful. He's a good player. So, but when he's playing on that third line with Bobby McMahon and Max Domi, that's a line that's sort of fraught with peril because I think Domi is playing out of position. He's a winger. I don't think he's a center. We know that we'll talk about the trade deadline a little later, but I mean, maybe Robertson, his skill set fits higher in the lineup, but on this team, he can't play higher in the lineup. And I don't know whether he ever will unless Marner goes someplace else and then maybe he gets a chance. But right now, I mean, he's a luxury that this team is enjoying right now because he's performing very well.
Right. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. Mike's having a few issues with his feed, but we're going to keep rocking and rolling here. The thing about Nick Robertson and his play is if you have any question about his tenacity and his will to succeed and his fight and whether he's gotten over being a dandelion or too delicate to succeed in this league, I mean, those questions have been answered. Sure, there are components to his game that have to mature and that have to evolve and have to get better. But you can look at the entire team and come up with reasons why they're not complete players. So I'm really encouraged by what Nick Robertson's doing. If he is dealt, it better be for somebody who's going to come back and bring the things that he wasn't able to bring. And that's part of the excitement of what's going on between now and March 7th. Add to the fact that the Leafs are among the best teams in the league. And with Boston, collapsing like they did last night and just looking nowhere near the team that they were 2 seasons ago for sure, and the team that knocked them out of the first round last year. And Washington, for as good as they have been, I got to think that they are vulnerable. This is as good a shot as the Leafs have had in a long period of time, and so we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot, Mr. Augello.
Well, I mean, the Eastern Conference is wide open. Boston is likely not going to make the playoffs because Charlie McAvoy may be out for the season. Hampus Lindholm, who's their second best defenseman, may be out for the season. The Elias Lindholm signing did not turn out to be a good move. Right now, the top defensive pairing is Nikita Zadorov and Brandon Carlo. That's not going to make it. They're not a good scoring team, and Swayman. And they're not a
fall from grace, Mike. Just tell it like it is.
They're not as good a defensive team as they were, which just makes the loss to them in Game 7 last year even more puzzling. Because
are you reveling in this? Is it not wonderful?
Well, and them being bad? Well,
yeah.
no, because I have PTSD and scar tissue when it comes to the Boston Bruins. And if they make it into the playoffs and they're the team that the Leafs face in the first round, even if the Leafs are the Atlantic Division champion, I'll pick the Bruins because I haven't seen proof that the Leafs can get over the mental hurdle of beating the Boston Bruins.
Well, then there's only one way to find out. Gary K. Nicky Bobby has finally figured it out, and like Norm said, he's finally pushing back. I mean, he's in the scrums, man. He's not taking any bullshit. And the thing that's going on for him, and that I'm excited for, is that what he's doing is benefiting the Leafs right now, but it's benefiting him in the long run, because if another team decides to trade for him, hopefully that's what they'll get. And if they get that kind of player who obviously is a work in progress, but has the ability to put up offensive numbers and be creative, and maybe not like his brother, but somewhere close to that, and carving out his own identity, that's good for the team and good for him. I'm every day, every game, I'm becoming more of a Nick Robertson fan. At the end of the day, though, if they trade his ass and bring somebody back who's going to help this team do what we all want it to do, and that's have success in the playoffs, I'm all for that too.
Well, I mean, right now, you have to say that the Leafs are surprisingly being saved by some of their secondary offensive sources. Like Alex Steve scores a nice goal against Carolina. Pontus Holmberg has been, he had that hot streak last year for a span, and now he's playing on the left side with Tavares and Nylander, and he's cashing in. So if you can get goals from him, as well as him playing on the penalty kill, if you get goals from Robertson, if you get goals from the fourth line. By the way, folks, who hasn't played on the fourth line and they've won 3 games in a row? Yes. Who is that guy? Oh, that's right. The guy who's number 75 who's going to get waived. That's who that guy is. But yeah, he hasn't played, and he doesn't deserve to play because he's a nothing in the playoffs. He can't keep up with the pace. So why would he be in there? And he shouldn't be in there now. But the concern here is, I mean, Nylander was not very noticeable yesterday, and then he was on the bench sort of grabbing his wrist. He's not at practice today. Austin Matthews, I think it's now 1 goal in 7 games.
Yeah, he's not the Austin Matthews we know. And not holding that against him, but it's just damn true, and we have to accept it. And
just going back to what I said on the last show, that's why the Four Nations was stupid, because now not only Tkachuk, Brady, and Matthew, not only McAvoy, not only Shea Theodore with Vegas, Matthews looked like he came out of it unscathed, but he missed 1 game in the Four Nations. He's not playing like Austin Matthews right now. And I mean, for this team to have the aspirations that they do, they need Austin Matthews to be effective, and he hasn't been effective.
Well, here's the irony, Mike. In your opinion of the Four Nations and the aftermath and the fallout and the causes of despair for teams, you may say that Austin Matthews was a potential victim of that, or it didn't really help him. But this guy was already dealing with injuries leading into that event, and as one of the best American players, it would have been hard for him to turn it down. Okay, but the byproduct outside of that is a lot of the players who would negatively affect the Leafs' opportunity to move forward are also injured, right? The McAvoys, the Tkachuks. So it's I get your point, but it's kind of worked out for the Maple Leafs, and we've taken it on the chin over the last several days. Like on social media, we're getting hammered by the Canadian fans who are just juiced up on jingoism and nationalism and pride because the tournament worked out to Canada's favor. Had the United States won, I'm not sure we'd be dealing with the fallout and the vitriol that we've dealt with over the last several days. So it's unfortunate, But losing, teams like Boston losing, Charlie McAvoy, and, the Florida Panthers having to deal with the issue with Matt Tkachuk, it does ironically benefit the Maple Leafs. So in the big picture, it's unfortunate because you don't want to lose the game stars because of some frivolous event. But if you lose the kind of guys who could potentially thwart your team's chances, well, so be it.
Yeah, but I mean, if the tumblers fall in the way of the Maple Leafs, then yes.
Right.
But I mean, they've been affected just as much as those teams, and they've won in spite of that over the last 3 games because they're getting that secondary offense from the guys like Robertson and Holmberg. How long does that last? I mean, for them to have success, they will need Austin Matthews to score. They will need William Nylander to score, and I'm not saying he won't, but I'm just saying, he was not the Nylander that we know against Boston. And that's if they don't have that, then I don't see a pathway for them to get to the promised land.
OG's Converts, what say you? Like the content, subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate you being here. There's just lots to talk about right now. The Leafs on a three-game winning run on the back of the Four Nations face-off that Canada won. Hey, super exhilarating. Marner to McDavid, top shelf. And, Canada wins this event. It was, within itself and the way it was, considering everything that's going on in the United States and the relationship with Canada right now that kind of dictated by Donald Trump, it added to the pizzazz of the event. And we weren't too big on it leading up to it. As it happened, I got more into it than Mr. Augello did, and I'll admit that, and I'm fine with that. Whether Canada won or the United States won, it wouldn't have made me feel any less about Hockey Canada or, revere USA Hockey anymore. Let's face it, USA Hockey is on an ascent. And the key right here will be taking what has happened over the last few weeks with the Four Nations face-off and having that metastasize into something just unbelievably spectacular next year in Italy. And, that's what I hope for. The thing is, that event's in fucking Italy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a fucking, I know you're an Italian, Mike, but that's in Italy. Like, that's a long way from here. And the time zones and the delays and staying up late and watching these kinds of games, it's not it doesn't help the event.
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you remember when they played in Torino, and that was 18 years ago, or 17 years ago. It'll be 18 when we come around next February. The time difference, it's a 6-hour time difference, so it's not that big of a deal. Games that are being played at 8:00 there will be played at 2:00.
It's just not the same, Mike. I mean, we'll deal with it, but it's not the same.
But I'll just say the last thing, then we can put the Four Nations to bed and bury it. I'm a proud American, and I wanted Team USA to win, but I would be saying the same thing about the tournament had Austin Matthews scored on Binnington, just like McDavid scored on Hellebuck. I didn't like the tournament. I didn't like when it was played. I didn't like it because of the potential for injuries. And now you've had the team that was in the Stanley Cup Finals and won the Stanley Cup last year affected by that. And great, it's the team that's in the Leafs division, and they may benefit from it, but it doesn't make it any better. I don't play the tournament in September. Do not play it in February.
Okay. Well, the NHL had to have a strategy with this event. They can't just say, let's just do it. We'll supplant the All-Star game. It's a year before. We'll start to gin up rivalries. We'll piss off Mike Augello from Cheektowaga, New York. Bob's your uncle. What a success story. We lost followers because of our take on the fucking Four Nations event. That's how sensitive people are. It's unbelievable, Mike. It's embarrassing that you and I are allowed to have any kind of opinion that devolves outside of sports into reality. Because you and I, all we are sports talking heads.
I love you folks, but if you don't like my opinion, let the door hit you on the ass on the way out.
Yeah, that's I'm with that as well. And while Mike is on his tangent, I'd like you to subscribe to the channel, like the content. Let's just talk about some potential trades leading up to the deadline, March 7th. I'm reading about the Shen brothers getting to play together. So Luke Shen played for this team twice and then had an opportunity to sign here and left. Braden Shen, he's won a cup and he's kind of nearing he's in the twilight of his career. Like, it's a nice story, the Shen brothers coming back, but Luke had his fucking chances to play with this organization. What the hell is this guy going to do for the blue line? And what is Braden Shen going to do for the top six, or for the forward group that's trying to actually get things done? And that's not just, show face. It's actually win a fucking championship.
I don't blame Luke Shen for signing with Nashville, because he was offered probably double what he was offered in Toronto.
Ridiculous.
They were offering him a 2 or 3 year deal in the ones, and I believe he signed for $275.
And look how it's turned out for that team. They can't.
I know, but he can't think of that, Norm. This is probably the last contract of his career. He's 34, 35 years old.
So does he want to come back to Toronto?
Well, I mean, he definitely wants out of Nashville based on the things that he's saying, I think Nashville probably would have to retain salary. I mean, this is the thing. The focus of the Leafs at the deadline is going to be a center, whether second or third line, whatever. But yesterday they got a scare with the injury to Chris Tanev, and the news came out this morning that he's going to be day to day. It looked like he had a separated shoulder. He left the game, or left the arena yesterday with his arm in a sling, but it turned out to be nothing serious. And he may miss a game or two, but he'll be back. But you lose Tanev. You've got one right-hand shot defenseman in Connor Timmins, and he's at best a bottom pairing, and Philippe Myers steps back in the lineup. I mean, right now they're a right defenseman short, and if they lose Tanev, they're 2 right defensemen short. And Jake McCabe did not have a good game, and he played the right side. I think it was with Benoit, but they only had 5 defensemen, so they're rotating. So the long and the short of it is, I think that they're going to need to do 2 things. One is the center, and the other one is a defenseman. Colton Parayko is a friggin' pipe dream. I don't know. I know his name is out there. I know that the St. Louis Blues are open for business. But you tell me, okay, you want Braden Shen and you want Colton Parayko. What the hell are you giving up for it?
So Francisco Pinto, Parayko is the guy, not Shen. I would trade Nyes. Wow.
Francesco looks like Ty Domi with hair.
Don't start shitting on our boys.
No, Mike. I'm not. He does. Look at the picture. He looks like, he probably thinks that's a compliment.
He's a good-looking. Francisco's a good-looking chap. And is
a paisan.
Pinto? Is he Portuguese or is he Italian?
No, Pinto's. I think he's a paisan.
He's your brethren. Okay, lay off. Hey, lay off. Like, everybody's excited. The Leafs have won 3 straight out of the fucking the Four Nations face-off. They're tops in the division. Look, it looks like there's an opportunity. I think the Leafs can take down Washington. Boston looks like shit. Florida's top player is injured because of the Four Nations event. This is a good opportunity. Maybe Brad Treliving is thinking more liberally now when it comes to making deals. Trade an Easton Cowan. Trade a Fraser Minton. Who gives a shit? Maybe move Matthew Nyes out. Go get some guys and take a run.
I completely disagree. Completely. I mean, okay, because look at the names that are out there, and I tweeted about this afternoon, because right now, and this is always the case, a week out from the trade deadline, a little over a week, the prices are insane, and then they sometimes will come down when reality strikes.
Do you think anybody will capitulate with the Leafs demands?
No, but then you don't do business with that team. It's like, you got Danny Briere asking for a number 1 pick for Scott Lawton. Go F yourself.
Why do I hear all the pundits and all the guys in the know and the so-called experts talk about Scott Lawton in these glowing terms? Like, I didn't think he was that good. Like, why would you expend a first-round pick on this cat? Like, he's got another year, $3 million, and he's a physical. I just don't think
I think he's a bad number 3. I don't think he's really the type of guy that they need. So and I wouldn't give up a first round pick for him. I don't know if I would give up a second round pick for him, but that's what Philadelphia is asking for. They're asking just as much, and I'm not saying the Leafs are interested in Rasmus Ristolainen, but that they're asking for ridiculous prices for him. So, okay, if it's Braden Shen, then you're probably giving up a Robertson, a Fraser Mitten, maybe a number 1.
Where's his contract, Mike? I'm not familiar.
He's got 2 more years after this year.
So is it worth it then? Because you retain him for a while,
right? But he's 33 years old. That's the problem. I mean, how much?
What is this, football? You can't have anybody over 33.
He's got 3 more years at 6.5, and he's 33 years old. So
I'm more worried about the cap implications. I mean, guys can play into their, how old is Alex Ovechkin? I mean, guys can play if they take care of themselves. I mean, you can get something out of them.
Right.
And you're going to re-sign John Tavares. How old is he?
34. But that's how many old guys do you want? And that's the thing.
Okay.
I mean, so if you're trading for Braden Shen, does that mean that they're not re-signing John Tavares? I would, want to keep John Tavares, move him to the wing. Right. But I like Braden Shen. I think he's a really good player. The factor here is what you're giving up. Right. If you're giving up Easton Cowan, who will be on this team next year, more than likely.
No.
If not there, he's going to be with the Marlies. Maybe he plays half a season there. Maybe he plays a full season there. But, I'm just saying I wouldn't give him up. Fraser Minton could be your number 3 center next year.
You can't stop progress because of a paralysis that you choose to succumb to, right? If this team continues its run and you see your the general the impediments traditionally fall down by the wayside, and you believe you have an opportunity to take a run and go for an Eastern Conference title,
right?
With this group, you can't be paralyzed by what you think is coming in the future.
No,
do you not make some moves to go for it?
But this is the problem. If you could say, you trade Fraser Minton in a deal for Braden Shen, and you are guaranteed to win the Eastern Conference, go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Every Leaf fan would say, sure. The problem is there are no guarantees.
Okay.
This
There's
team
never a guarantee.
Right, exactly. That's right, exactly. And what did this team do 2 years ago? They traded most of their draft picks to get Ryan O'Reilly and Luke Shen and Jake McCabe and a couple other players, and they won 1 round and lost to Florida. And then now they have to pick up the pieces because they don't have the draft picks.
So you refrain from moving forward because you're snake bitten by what you've done in the past that didn't work out.
No,
you can't operate a franchise like that.
No, what I'm saying is that this team, has to make prudent moves for good players, but not give up too much. You can't overstep your bounds. If you're asking me, would I trade a first round pick for Scott Lawton? No. Would I trade a first round pick and Easton Cowan for Braden Shen? No.
Would you trade a first round pick for someone?
Yes, I would.
Who is that?
Preferably somebody with term.
Who is that?
I mean, if the deal is reasonable for Braden Shen, sure. Now I'm not giving up a first round pick and Easton Cowan. I'll give up a first round pick and Nick Robertson, because maybe St. Louis would want a guy who could score and play in their top 6. I'm not giving up Easton Cowan because you're going to get 3. You're going to have to pay Nick Robertson next year.
Yeah.
He's going to probably score 16, 17 goals.
Right.
He's on a contract for less than $1 million. He's going to expect to get paid. Right. So now I'm for, and I think the prudent move here would be to trade for Yanni Gourde, who's won 2 Stanley Cups in Tampa.
Yeah.
Who
Brandon Griffiths believes, along the same lines. I want them to trade for Yanni Gourde, Cup experience and brings tenacity, hoping he is back from injury and expiring contract too. So the prudent move, but also relatively speaking, the inexpensive move.
Yes, Pierre LeBrun reported yesterday that Gourde will likely play the game before the deadline. So he's skating and he's close to being back. Now I saw somebody like, well, that's like a Nick Foligno move. Well, I mean, you're going to trade for players, and anybody can get hurt. We know how that is. You hope that the guy is back and he's back healthy. So I mean, he plugs in perfectly in a third line center role. He's not big, but he's got experience. He's feisty. He's not the same player he was with Tampa, but that's why he's being traded. So, I mean, I think he fits in well. He can probably still penalty kill. He's a good face-off guy. That's the move I make. If you're talking about trading first-round picks and prospects, it better be a guy who is somebody who is retainable for a number of years and who is still going to be effective in those 2 or 3 years. And that's the question I have with Braden Shen. How effective will he be in 2 or 3 years?
So if someone says, Mike, I've been watching this team as long as you have, I'm sick and tired of it. I believe it has the components to win a championship, barring a trade or two that can augment the group and take it forward. What is your argument that you don't believe this team is quite ready, or there just aren't the kinds of players that you're willing to expend draft capital and current assets on?
I mean, if you could trade, and I don't believe the stuff, but people who I respect believe there's still a possibility. If you could, if you would, shot your wad and trade for Mikko Rantanen. If Carolina decides that they can't sign him and they're going to put him through again and try to, if you're going to trade Easton Cowan and a first-round pick to Carolina for Mikko Rantanen, that's a move that, you're probably not going to re-sign him unless you think you can re-sign him over Marner. That's a move. You add another impact forward, then that's a game changer. But I don't foresee that being possible. So I'm dealing in realism here. It's not Parayko. It's not Braden Shen and Parayko. It's not Connor McDavid. You're not, what I'm saying? It's like you're not going to make but if you can make small to moderate impact moves, and that's why I like Luke Shen as an ad on the blue line. He could probably play with Morgan Rielly for a playoff. And then he would settle in on the bottom pairing. He works in Toronto. He's worked here before. So yeah, I mean, but the big move, I just don't see it happening.
This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. You know the spiel. I have 2 days to go with like a ton of extra money off an XLT lease 2025. Especially if you're trying to get a payment in the the low to mid threes on a $75,000 truck, I can do it for you. And when you come to me and do business, you help our podcast. I have converts and OGs reach out to me every single week. People who listen because they want my help. They know me through the project and they want me to be the representative when it comes to handing them the keys to a vehicle. We make it happen. And again, I'm just here to help you out. At Norman Oak Ridge Ford on Instagram. We appreciate it very much. The other thing is, if you're on TikTok, at Leafs Convo Clips. So I've started a new account for some of our Leafs Convo shorts. If you're on TikTok, guys, follow us so we can kind of look legitimate. We have no followers, but our clips are out there. At Leafs Convo Clips. The Mike versus the Four Nations face-off clips are out there, and everybody has to have their say, especially on Instagram, especially on YouTube Shorts, but on Leafs Convo Clips, TikTok, that's where we need your support. So if you can do that for us, that would be great. How do you want to summarize the show, Mike, and finish it up?
Well, I'll just say this. I think that anybody who's expecting a major move, I think they're going to be disappointed. I think
is that concession, Mike? Like, are fans wrong to read into that too much about Brad Treliving and his belief in his team?
No, I think he believes in the team. I think he thinks they have a good chance to win. I don't think he wants to, upset the apple cart by making a big move because this team has had a pretty good level of success. But I do think that they need to address a couple areas, and I think he can do that without, like I'm looking at trading prospects like Topi Niemelä, who clearly is not the type of defenseman that Berube or Treliving like. Treliving likes big defensemen, and Topi Niemelä is a right shot puck mover. So
okay, Mike V. Nope, they will swing for the fences. Shanny knows it's his last chance. Well, that's a selfish thing.
Yeah, no, and honestly, if he is swinging for the fences to save his job, then he should be fired.
So you're telling me, so Mike V, you're telling me that Shanny is still the puppet master of this organization? I haven't heard his name in months. I think, honestly, I think it's Brad Treliving's team, and that's just the way she's going.
And if MLS&E is being run by somebody, it's not Shanahan, it's the guy above him. The guy above him has got the whip hand, so to speak. So like Shanahan is in the last year of his deal, and if he orders Treliving to make a deal out of desperation, I think that then he's going to get axed pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. So the positive, the Leafs have won 3 straight coming out of the Four Nations face-off. Marner looks great. We've got 2 healthy goaltenders plus 2 other guys who are just waiting in the wings. Nick Robertson's looked great. You're going to get a couple of guys back. This is a really good opportunity for the Leafs. On the negative, well, Austin Matthews is not Austin Matthews of last year. This is probably going to be his least productive season out of all the seasons he's had since he entered the league back in 2016. William Nylander's like limp-wristed. He does, that the visuals from the game against Boston aren't great. And compounding all of that, there's a team in Florida not named the Panthers that has won 6 straight and is a fucking plus 50. So look the fuck out.
Those who had predicted the demise of the Tampa Bay Lightning, not yet.
Well, coming out of this event where there was, how many Lightning representatives were there?
Cirelli, Hagel, Braden Point,
Right.
Hedman. Yeah, I mean, there were 4 or 5. I mean,
listen, the Leafs have taken them out in the playoffs before. You like for as much as you think that there are organizations that you traditionally have trouble with laying down their swords will help you move forward. You still have to roll your sleeves up and go to work. And if it's Tampa again, then so be it.
If the Leafs win the Atlantic Division, it won't be Tampa and it won't be Florida. And you let those two kill each other in the first round, which they will. They'll beat the crap out of each other. Right. That will be a bloodbath, a 6 or 7 game bloodbath. Now it's up to Toronto, who if they're not going to win the Eastern Conference. Washington is well ahead in that race, and they're going to face the second wild card. The Leafs would play the first wild card,
right,
which could be anybody. And if it's Ottawa, which is another team that has their number, as we both know, then they have to face again. They've beaten them in the playoffs throughout history, but Patrick Lalime is not playing in goal for the Ottawa Senators anymore. So yeah, that's out the window. And I agree with Mike V. I would love for the Leafs to trade for Matthew Olivier, but Columbus is in a playoff spot right now, so they're not. They're adding. They're not going to subtract.
Yeah, no doubt. What do we have for the Leafs coming up here? So nothing Thursday. So at Madison Square Garden on Friday, and then it looks like there's a Sunday game at the Penguins. 1:00 in the afternoon. What the hell is going on with that?
Yeah.
I mean, they better not look. It's just been a shitbox season for the Penguins. Kind of looks good on Kyle Dubas and that team. It's unfortunate for Sid. It's unfortunate for Malkin and anybody that you like from that organization who's headed to the Hall and who we just generally revere. But the Leafs had better not lose that game. Go into New York, beat the Rangers, and they deserve a beating, and then lose to the Penguins just because it's a Sunday afternoon game. I mean, you got to collect your points.
It's 2 winnable games. That 4 points, they should get all 4. Will they? We'll see.
Hey, it's a good spot to be in right now, but I'm worried about Matthews and him getting going. Nylander's health. I mean, I don't want to see that guy. I don't want to see him regress. He's having a good season. And then, Tampa's there lurking, but there's got to be adversity to keep you moving forward, and that's the beautiful thing. The Leafs Convo is presented by Oak Ridge Ford. OakRidgeFord.com is where you're going to get your next vehicle. Got a couple days to go with the big incentives, and then who knows what's going to happen with the tariffs and price hikes. I'm telling you, don't wait. Get at me, at Norm at Oak Ridge Ford. You can reach out to Mike. He's on a variety of platforms. We have all kinds of social media that is kind of accelerating and spreading the goodwill of our show on Instagram, TikTok, Leafs Convo Shorts on YouTube. Do yourself a favor, immerse yourself in what we're doing so you can pass along our content to your friends and help us grow. For Mr. Augello in Buffalo, New York, I'm Norm James in London, Ontario. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, so much more to come. The Leafs Convo for tonight is out.